What's up, everyone? Today is March 15th of 2022. In today's video, we're going to talk about the passing yesterday of WWE legend Scott Hall. Followers of my channel know that I grew up a wrestling fan, so decodes like this are a little bit near and dear to me. In fact, I was even a backyard wrestler growing up, so perhaps all those shots to the head have something to do with why I'm sitting here today running numbers for you. Anyway, to understand the numerology of this story, it's important to simply look at the headline, where CNN and all these other outlets point out that Scott Hall was a Hall of Famer. So we'll connect this to the WWE Hall of Fame, as Hall was this man's last name. Only 8 wrestlers were ever inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame on multiple occasions, and Scott Hall is one of them. Now, what's important to note is that half of these guys, 4 of these 8 men, were members of a supergroup called the Clique, and certainly Triple H, the 5th member, will be inducted on his own as well one day. And this group had a lot of influence backstage. Kevin Nash and Scott Hall departed WWE in the mid-90s and went to WCW, where they became the Outsiders, and ran a stable called the New World Order, which was with Hulk Hogan, who famously made a heel turn at the 1996 Bash at the Beach. So what we're going to do in this video is show how the dates on which all of these members of the Clique were inducted into the Hall of Fame is connected to the death of Scott Hall. Now, we begin with the 2014 WWE Hall of Fame class. This was one of the most anticipated classes of all time, and you may recall this was a really strange incident where the Ultimate Warrior was inducted on a Saturday. He was a guest on Raw the following Monday, and then he died the next Tuesday. And you'll see down here Razor Ramon, the bad guy, Scott Hall. And, you know, the mid to early 90s was kind of a rough patch for the WWE. But during that time, you know, Razor Ramon was probably my favorite wrestler, on a bit of a personal note. I had some friends who liked Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels. One guy even liked Doink the Clown. Of course, he's not my friend anymore. But Razor Ramon, known as the bad guy, I just thought he was so cool. So if you measure from the date of this induction ceremony, which was April 5th of 2014, to the death of Scott Hall, which was yesterday, March 14th of 2022, you get exactly 2,900 days. Now, in numerology, with the zeros dropped, this represents the number 29. And in the standard reduction or Pythagorean method, the name Scott Hall sums to 29. The chairman and CEO of the WWE is Vince McMahon, who was born on August 24th. And you'll notice that Scott Hall also died a span of exactly 29 weeks after Mr. McMahon's birthday. Hall was known for playing the character Razor Ramon. And notice how Ramon has this 29 value in reverse. He would later go on to become a founding member of the New World Order, and NWO equals 29. Yesterday, he died after several heart attacks. Notice how the word heart equals 29, and it was on Pi Day. Pi with that 29 sum as well. What also stands out is that his full name, Scott Oliver Hall, has a Gematria value of 191. This using the standard alphabetic order where each letter is numbered 1 through 26 relative to its position in the alphabet. This 191 is what you get when you type in Hall of Fame in the reverse order. But again, the character he played in WWE was Razor Ramon. Notice how you get a 58 and a 59 in the 2 main reduction methods. This is the same as WWE Hall of Fame. The 59 is what really stands out here, because Hall's death yesterday fell on a date with primary numerology of 59. His last name has this value with capital letters. The word kill sums to 59. When Scott Hall and his best friend Kevin Nash, whose middle name, intriguingly, is Scott as well, they formed a group in WCW called the Outsiders. And notice how Outsiders has this value of 59 also. The Outsiders comprised of Hall and Nash, which is 59. But again, these two men were part of this supergroup that worked in both companies, WWE and WCW, known as the Clique. And notice how Clique has this value of 59 also. But what also stood out is the number 49 for Clique. If we measure from the date that the New World Order was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, which was last year, aired on April 6th of 2021. Well, from that air date to the death of Scott Hall was exactly a span of 49 weeks. In Latin or Jewish Gematria, which is the primary large number method I teach on this channel, the name Hall sums to 49. And we're told that he died of a heart attack, which sums to 409. Also, this year's event will be held in Dallas, the Hall of Fame this year. But I want you to think a little bit more about this. The New World Order, the NWO, who was kind of the headliner for this year's induction class, seen here at the top, these four men. What I thought was really interesting is that this was held in the city of St. Petersburg, Florida. And I've done a little work on St. Petersburg lately, because St. Petersburg, Russia, is where Vladimir Putin is from. And Vladimir Putin right now is playing the bad guy in the media, going up against the New World Order with this war in Ukraine. The New World Order, kind of another name for NATO in conspiracy circles, so to speak. So Vladimir Putin, born and raised in St. Petersburg, the New World Order inducted in St. Petersburg. Pretty interesting stuff. Now I want to talk about this year's WrestleMania and how Scott Hall's death is synced up with this as well. For starters, WrestleMania this year is being held in Dallas, Texas, which has matching gematria with Scott Hall. I guess technically it's Arlington, so take that for what you will, but the most important part of this riddle is the number 38. The number 38, as we've been documenting for years, is connected to death, as the word death in the alphabetic order has a value of 38. In reduction, killing equals 38. Murder even equals 38 in reverse. Back in 2002, there was a film called Murder by Numbers, which conveniently coded the number 38 right there in its poster. Well, using the S exception, the name Scott Hall equals 38. Scott Hall and his best friend Kevin Nash once again went to WCW as the Outsiders. And the Outsiders in Gematria is really closely linked with the number 38. For starters, the Outsiders sums to 163, which is the 38th prime number. On top of that, the Outsiders also equals 741, which is the 38th triangular number. And now one of the Outsiders dying just before Super Bowl 38. Vince McMahon is also connected to this number on that day. Measuring to Vince's next birthday from Scott Hall's death gives us 163 days, the 38th prime number. In the standard reduction method, the word death sums to 20. And measuring from Scott Hall's death to the date that WrestleMania begins was a span of 20 days. And since WrestleMania is a 2-day event now, he also died 20 days before the last day of So here's a quick look at the New World Order in wrestling. These three men formed in 1996. Hulk Hogan was, the biggest babyface in the history of wrestling at the time, which made this move so shocking. It all went down at an event called Bash at the Beach. And notice how Bash at the Beach sums to 77. And that year it fell on the date July 7th, 7-7, which is pretty early in the month for a pay-per-view typically. July 7th is also the date that leaves 177 days on the calendar. And notice how New World Order equals 177 in reverse ordinal. And the more time that passes and the more we look at, it certainly seems like this whole WWF, WCW ratings feud of the 90s was some kind of stage show, with wrestlers going back and forth. I really believe there was some coordination going on behind the scenes. Not necessarily that the wrestlers were involved in it, but perhaps that those companies were. So Hulk Hogan was the man who really made the New World Order, and it just so happens that I made a post about Hulk Hogan back on March 1st. The reason I made this post is because Hulk Hogan was born in Augusta, Georgia, which is the home of the Masters Golf Tournament. And Hulk Hogan was born in the year 1953 when the Masters winner was Ben Hogan. Now, Ben Hogan would go on to die in the year 97. And I pointed out here that's the ordinal value of Hulk Hogan. This number also connected to the other member of the NWO, Kevin Nash, whose July 9th birthday can be written 9/7. Scott Hall was known as the bad guy, Razor Ramon. Notice how this sums to 97 in our standard reduction method, matching the word death in reverse. But the number 97 is another prime number. Notice it's the 25th, and death also equals 25. Now this was another significant number coded into this whole event. Hall died on Pi Day, and Pi equals 25, just like his wrestler's nickname, Ramon 25. Scott Hall passed 20 weeks and 5 days after his birthday. It was also 25 years and 250 days after the formation of the New World Order. Finally, his death also fell 2 weeks and 5 days before WrestleMania 38. They told us it's heart problems. And notice how heart equals 25. Well, if you measure from Hulk Hogan's birthday, August 11th, 1953, to the death of Scott Hall, you get 25,052 days. 25 and 52. Well, Scott Hall died of a heart attack. Heart equals 25 and 52. These men members of the New World Order, NWO, equals 52. Hogan's real name is Terry Bollea, which equals 52. Which matches Scott Hall in reverse, another 52. So Hulk Hogan totally synced up with the death of Scott Hall yesterday. Now there's one more induction we need to look at here. Back in the year 2019, we had more members of the Clique inducted into the Hall of Fame. D-Generation X, which featured 3 of the members of the Clique, Triple H, Sean Waltman, and Shawn Michaels. Well, if you measure from this induction date to the death of Scott Hall, it was 1,074 days. This number stood out again because this year's WrestleMania will be held in Dallas, Texas, which has double gematria of 1,074. But more importantly is that New World Order sums to 174 in the standard alphabetic order. In fact, in reverse Sumerian, NWO sums to 174 as well. I just wanted to point out as well, D-Generation X, featuring X-Pac. So, when Razor Ramon was big back in the 90s, there was an episode of Monday Night Raw where Sean Waltman famously pinned Razor Ramon, and it was like the biggest upset in the history of Raw. And at the time, Sean Waltman was known as the 1-2-3 Kid. And you have to appreciate this, because not only is 1-2-3 like a pinfall, but the name Sean Waltman in the standard alphabetic order sums to 123. Just going a little bit off the cuff here, I wanted to check when Hulk Hogan was inducted into the Hall of Fame. And here we see it's 2005. So there's a chance that the induction of Hulk Hogan is connected to this as well. Probably not as strong. 6,190 days. I know I saw the number 619 in this decode. Bear with me for a second. It must have been somewhere else. However, you do get the 191 with the end date. And again, that was the name Scott Oliver Hall, 191. So there's probably something to this. Remember this 619. 6 is an upside down 9. Ritual sacrifice sums to 616. Ritual sacrifice also equals 107. This is tied to Scott Hall's birth numerology, October 20th of 58. He was born on a date with primary numerology of 107. And then he would go on to die on the 73rd day of the year. And that's important because ritual sacrifice also has that 73, just like the word sacrifice. 73. And the whole story that led up to Scott Hall's death was a little strange, right? They said, first of all, he had a fall. And that stood out because fall equals 77 like Scott. And he apparently broke his hip. And hip equals 33 and 77. The name Hall equals 33. So, who knows what happened, is if there's a little bit of theater behind this. You know, pro wrestling has done a lot over the last 20 to 30 years to maintain some level of illusion. And I think a lot of the storylines that go out that people think are real are still actually kayfabe or planned or staged to some degree. Because, you know, ever since the illusion got broken, they've had to try different things to keep people entertained. And when we talk about the illusions of wrestling being broken, it was really the Clique that was responsible for that. In fact, right here it says, the Clique broke character at a live event at Madison Square Garden in an event called the Curtain Call, where even though these guys were feuding in the storylines, they came out and looked like friends in the ring. They all held their hands up together. And ever since that incident, wrestling was forced to acknowledge that their program was scripted. But I think that even this was all scripted, is what I'm getting at. All right, guys, that'll do it for this video. Thanks to everybody for popping in. Peace, love, God bless. We'll talk to you again soon. See ya.